Hello everyone, and welcome to World War II at 80. I'm Ron May, your host, author, historian, and speaker on World War II history and the stories of those who served. We continue with our fourth episode today, which focuses on the events and stories of April 1944. The tempo of the war intensified at the start of the second quarter of 1944. April saw a return of bombing missions over the Ploiești oil fields in Romania. A major source of oil for the German forces, the oil fields in Ploiești produced 60% of the crude oil used by the German military. Ploiești's oil fields were attacked earlier in the war on August 1, 1943, when 172 Allied aircraft flew in from Libya, Africa for the mission. While the attack significantly damaged the oil refineries, the Germans' anti-aircraft guns and fighter aircraft brought down 52 of the U.S. bombers. Only 88 of the bombers returned safely to Libya. Over 310 aviation crew were killed or missing. By April 1944, odds had shifted slightly in the Allies' favor. The Army Air Force bombers could reach Ploiești from captured airfields on the southern Italian peninsula, noted in the yellow arrow, cutting the earlier distance of 1,200 miles from Libya, noted in the orange arrow, to a much more manageable 600 miles. The April 5th raid was also conducted by the new 15th Air Force, which was headquartered in Italy and now boasted new P-51 Mustang fighters to escort the bombers to Romania and defend them from air attack. While the Germans again stubbornly defended the refineries and shot down many bombers, they began losing the war of attrition as they were unable to replace their planes and pilots lost in defending Ploiești. The oil refineries and supply network were significantly damaged by the April attacks, denying the Germans the full amount of oil needed to sustain their war machines. 18 more bombing attacks on Ploiești's oil refineries took place between April 6 and August 19, 1944. And while the price of the raids was the steep loss of 223 bombers and fighters, the cost to the Germans was even steeper. As a result of the raids, oil production was reduced by 80%. That meant a reduced number of German planes flying, tanks moving, and trucks driving. Meanwhile, in the northern part of Europe, Allied forces were massing in England and beginning their final preparations for the amphibious landing in France later in June. As part of that preparation in late April, Exercise Tiger took place along the Slapton shoreline in southwestern England. The 8-day exercise was designed as a dress rehearsal to prepare U.S. Army forces for landing at Utah Beach in France. The exercise turned into a tragedy, however, when several German S-boats, fast torpedo boats, tipped off by German intelligence via reconnaissance planes, snuck undetected into the coastal waters where the Allied ships were waiting to unload troops on the shore. The German vessels, noted by the red arrows in the schematic, fired upon U.S. LSTs, that is, tank landing ships, sinking 2 of them, noted by the blue arrows on the schematic. Several other LSTs were significantly damaged in the attacks. Tragically, up to 700 soldiers and sailors were killed during the attack by drowning, hypothermia, burns, or injury. The exercise went on despite the catastrophe. The tragedy was kept a military secret to protect U.S. public morale and to ensure that Germany would not know the significance of damage or loss of life from their attack. The tragedy at Slapton Sands was an ominous reminder of the danger that lurked ahead for the Allies, who would soon be hitting the beaches of France and stepping into heavy German defenses. Ironically, the loss of life at Slapton Sands, around 700, was almost twice the number of actual combat deaths that would occur at Utah Beach 6 weeks later on D-Day. On the other side of the world, the Navy continued with their island raids in the Pacific. On April 29 and 30, the island chain of Truk came under aerial attack. Located in the Caroline Island chain in the west central Pacific, Truk Islands were located north of New Guinea and east of the Philippine Islands. Today, part of the Federated States of Micronesia and known as Chuuk Islands, this critical island chain had been occupied and used as a launching point for Japanese expansion in the early 1940s. The Japanese built 5 airfields on the island chain, and over 500 Japanese aircraft were parked there. The island chain's deep water lagoon was even more impressive and widely thought to be the most formidable of Japan's naval assets. It moored 1,000 ships that were ready to deploy when needed. In February 1944, the U.S. Navy attacked the island by surprise with battleships, aircraft carriers, cruisers, destroyers, and submarines. The operation, codenamed Hailstone, was successful in delivering a major punch to the Japanese assets on the island. Navy ships and planes, along with Army Air Force bombers, returned again on April 27 through 30 for the final knockout blow. What follows is a 1-minute clip from the News Parade video covering the operation.
The most effective United States carrier-borne air armada ever sent into action prepares the surprise blow against the powerful Japanese naval base at Truk. Bombers, torpedo planes, and Hellcat fighters stand ready for the takeoff as their 2,000 horsepower engines warm up. The fleet is close to the enemy's secret stronghold now and still undetected. The first flight moves to the attack. The exact number of carriers in this great fleet is a closely guarded naval secret, but an overwhelming force of planes roars into the sky, the finest planes and the greatest flyers in the world. There goes the spearhead of the attack. The defending Japs are stunned by the suddenness of the first blow delivered with crushing force on the heart of the great fortress in mid-Pacific. Like Hitler's Europe, Tojo just forgot to put a ceiling over Truk, and jubilant Navy cameramen take pictures to prove it.
The aerial attack resulted in 70 Japanese ships sunk and 400 aircraft destroyed. Arthur Brown got a prime view of the devastating February and April attacks on Truk Island. An Iowa native and later resident of Morgantown, Indiana, Brown was a shipfitter sailor in the Navy. He was on board the USS Enterprise aircraft carrier that participated in both raids. Brown watched the Japanese ships get hit by the U.S. planes as they tried to escape from the base. He recalled, quote, "When the Jap ships came out of there, we would detach our battleships or cruisers. I could see them shooting at those ships over there. I could see them smoking to beat the band, and just like you took a knife and cut it, sunk them. I could see it, just like watching television off the ship." End quote. Brown served on the Enterprise for 28 months from late 1942 until early 1945. He worked mostly in damage control. "We put the fires out," Brown said. "Any plumbing went to heck or something down in the galley had to be fixed, or down there where the doctors operate and everything. We had to go down there and plug stuff. We worked all over the ship." Brown and the other crew members assigned to damage control got plenty of opportunity to hone their skills in putting out fires, plugging holes in the hull, and making critical repairs. The Enterprise was under frequent attack from Japanese planes, ships, and submarines, and was hit on numerous occasions. She was kept afloat only through the efforts of her dedicated crew. Arthur Brown was one of 5 Brown children who served in the armed forces during the war. Such dedication from all the branches of service in April ensured that progress continued toward the path of victory. Learn more about World War II history during 1944 and the stories of those who served in my World War II trilogy, Our Service, Our Stories, Volumes 1, 2, and 3. The books are available for purchase on my website, ronaldpmay.com. To contact me for questions or to schedule me for a speaking engagement, email me at ron@ronaldpmay.com. Also, be sure to check out all my other videos on my YouTube channel at World War II History and Stories with Ron May. Please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. See you next month for our Episode 5 featuring the events and stories of May 1944 with World War II at 80.